Hey everybody, James here from American Drifter, and today I'm excited to show you my personal urban get-home bag. So what is a get-home bag and why do you need one? Well, a get-home bag is essentially a bag that's set up with supplies to help you make it home. So James, why do I need a get-home bag? I have a vehicle, I can just simply drive home. That might be the case, but that might not always be the case. And this situation I'm about to play out, I'm working in the city relatively 10 miles away from home, and there has just been some disaster, some civil unrest, and now all the roads that I know how to get home are blocked. So what do? Well, I park my truck in a safe location, I grab this bag, and I take off on foot. And the purpose behind this bag is to help sustain me and give me all the resources I need to make it home within 48 hours. Before I jump into this gear, I just want to give you my thoughts on the mindset. You know, if you were in this emergency situation, you know, where should your head be? I mean, obviously you want to get home, but my next priority would be to remove myself from that urban environment as soon as possible, you know, not spending more than one day tops in that environment. Why? Because even in combat situations, there is no environment more dangerous than an urban environment. It has a higher population, it has more vantage points, it has a lot more, you know, cover than you would have in nature. So for me, you know, having that camping background, I would be much more comfortable breaking away from the city and, you know, dealing with the elements, with nature, than I would be staying in a potentially dangerous city with violent people and having to navigate around them. Getting started with the urban get-home bag, we're going to cover the backpack, and that is the VanQuest Falconer 27. Already reviewed this bag, it's great. However, they don't make this one anymore. There's an updated version called the Falconer 30, and in my opinion, that would probably be of more benefit to you to have those extra 3 liters. So I'm using the VanQuest Falconer 27 as my get-home bag, and in my opinion, it's just enough to fit all the items required for one individual. Outside of the items that you would already have on person, these are some of the other items that I recommend that you carry. And I've got a Spec Ops gaiter here, and this has just about as many uses as a bandana would. And especially in these times, it can double as a face mask. And speaking of face masks, I have the N95 face mask here. I've got a beanie here that's multi-purpose. It's got an integrated headlamp there. A flannel shirt, also multi-purpose. I can roll this up and use it as a pillow, or if I was going through a rough area and wanted to change my appearance, this would be a very easy shirt to throw on and you know, assist me with changing my appearance if I felt like it was necessary. And then over here we've got a Gore-Tex rain jacket. And lastly, in this area, I've got some cash. And you know, the thought behind this is if there is a disaster and you know, cell phone towers are down, then I'm also assuming that credit card machines won't work. So for this example, I'm suggesting at least $100 per person for your get-home bag. So before moving away from the stuff that I have on person, and obviously, you know, check your state laws, all of that jazz, but if you are in a state that allows, you know, concealed carry, this would be my pick. This is the HK VP9. I've seen in a lot of other, you know, get home bag videos, a lot of people carry, you know, Glock 19. Nothing wrong with that. I have a P80 Glock 19 myself. However, in the event of getting home, I would prefer to carry this. I know it's a little bit bigger. It's, you know, a little bit bulkier to carry, less capacity, but to be honest, I just shoot better with it. So, you know, if I were in that situation and I was trying to get home and I was passing through some rough areas, you know, this is just my personal opinion, but I'd rather have something that I shoot better with. So this would be my pick. So let's go ahead and talk about the main priorities here. The water situation. So for water, I've selected 2 smart water bottles, one in a larger size, one in a smaller size, and I also have water purification tablets along with the Knockout Doors water bag and Sawyer Mini water filter. And that's my setup for water. Let's go ahead and move on to food. So these are the food items that I have. I have 2 Mountain House meals along with instant mashed potatoes and ramen noodles. And this is pretty much the main course. I'm that kind of guy where I like to save these heavier meals for dinner. And during the day, you know, for breakfast and lunch, I just like to kind of snack out on items, because in my experience, if I eat, you know, like a heavy breakfast or a heavy lunch, I kind of get in that food coma. And if I'm in this urgent situation and I'm trying to get home and I'm in some stressful environments, I don't really want to stop and take, you know, an extra 15-20 minutes to make food and have to be in that hostile area any longer than I'd have to. So that's my situation for the big meals. And then, you know, for snacks, I've got Bare Naked granola. I've got these Cliff Energy shots and blocks. I've used these in endurance races. They're great. Propel water. If I just wanted to switch things up and not drink water all the time, I have the powder to do that. Trail Mix kind of goes without saying. It's awesome. Cliff Bar. And just saying, you can't have a get home bag without a Snickers. I think that should just be a rule now. So if you're watching a get home bag video and they don't have a Snickers bar, then they're doing something wrong, because if you're ever feeling down and out, a Snickers bar just brings you back. You know, it just kind of throws you back in the game. Moving on to cookware, I've got a fuel cartridge, an MSR stove for the fuel cartridge, and then a Snow Peak titanium cup with the spork. Moving on to the shelter situation, I went with the Walmart tarp, and I want to say this was under $10, and it's a 5x7, I believe. So this is a great way to give yourself some shelter from, you know, direct sunlight or rain. And above that, I've got the Tac Bivy by Survival Frog, which is essentially a bivy space blanket. And I have used this multiple times on different camping trips, and I can say it definitely works well. So this is an important item to have. And then I do have an extra space blanket. It's pretty compact, and these are pretty affordable, so you should definitely have one of these. And then underneath that, I've got a gallon Ziploc bag. I use these to store, you know, the snacks or the miscellaneous items. And it's also dual purpose. If something happened to my flannel shirt, I could, you know, throw some air in this and turn it into a pillow. So that's another purpose for a Ziploc. And then below that, I have an industrial garbage bag. Many people have talked about this before. You know, you can poke 3 holes in it and turn it into a poncho. Or if you were laying on the hard ground and wanted a little bit more cushion, you could throw leaves into it and give yourself some more cushion that way. Moving on to the fire situation, I've got 2 mini Bic lighters here. I also have Yuko stormproof matches. And on the right side over here, attached to my knife, is a ferro rod. So multiple ways to get a fire started. And for tinder, I have an Altoids can full of cotton balls. And I also have the Blackbeard fire starter. Now let's talk about navigation. I have a local map of my general area. And I know some people feel like they don't need this, but in the event of multiple road closures and you having to make it home using, you know, back roads or alleys, whatever the case, in my opinion, I think this is a must to have a map. And then on top of that, I have 2 compasses, the Suunto M9, and then also a wrist strap compass. And as you can see, I'm not really going for precision here, because in the urban setting, I don't feel like I'm going to be, you know, getting an azimuth or plotting points. So that's why I went with something, you know, a little bit more basic. And then above that, I have a Right in the Rain notepad with an all-weather pen and a mechanical pencil. Moving on to hygiene items, got a toothbrush and toothpaste here, baby wipes, which also double as toilet paper, sunscreen, hand sanitizer, which is a necessity these days, and this will also assist you in the event of starting a fire. So here's what I got going on in my med kit. I put this one together myself. I've got gloves, I've got a tourniquet. I also have a Sharpie in here, because if you do have to apply a tourniquet to yourself or someone else, you also want to make sure that you write the time that it was applied, because in an ideal situation, you don't want to leave a tourniquet on more than 2 hours. And hopefully by then you can get some medical attention for yourself or someone else. Moving ahead with the rest of the bag, I've got medical tape, duct tape, medical shears, aspirin, combat gauze, band-aids, antibiotic cream, and eye drops. I've also got some foot powder in there so that way I make sure I take care of my feet. All right, let's go ahead and talk about tools. Moving from left to right. So the first thing here, I have a crowbar, and this is probably gonna be controversial, but if you were in a emergency situation, you could use this to break into something like an office building in that situation. Obviously, I don't condone breaking and entering, but for me, if it's the difference between breaking the law and surviving, well, I'll let you make that decision. So moving on, I have a knife featured here. That is the Condor bush lower. To the right of that, I have two sources of paracord. I've got about 75 feet of regular paracord and about 50 feet of survivor cord. This stuff is a little bit more expensive, but it's awesome because it also has a higher pound test limit, has fishing line, trap wire, and a tender core. So a lot of uses for this. Above that, I have some dental floss, and you're like, James, why do you have dental floss with your tools? You're kind of weird. That's okay, I know. The dental floss I'm gonna use as a makeshift alarm. So I could use this as a tripwire, throw some cans on the tripwire. That way, if someone trips over the dental floss, I'll have an alarm so I know that they're there. It gives me a little bit of a heads up. All right, to the right of these things, I have zip ties, ton of uses for that. And then this tool up here is a silcock key, and this is used on the outside of public buildings to access water. So again, I don't condone this in regular, everyday situations, but if you were in a survival situation, you could use this to collect water. Below that, I've got a heavy-duty Swiss Army knife and then a Leatherman skeleton tool. Below all these things, I have a pair of tan mechanics gloves. So I have a small category here, and I call this my signaling category. So I have a set of chem lights here, a mirror for both signaling, and this also is a good add-on to the med kit. In the event that I did have an injury where I wasn't able to see it, I could use this mirror to help me see the injury and dress the wound. Below that, I have two bandanas, and I'm probably just gonna go with one. I just haven't decided on which one to go with because honestly, bright colors give me anxiety. But this bright orange one would help you if you did want to signal, your family or someone else. That would be of more help using the brighter one. But I also have a black one, and obviously I feel like going with that, but time will tell. This next category is the observation category. So I have binoculars here, and you could just, get a single one if you wanted to. And then I also have a NOAA radio and multifunctional here because this also has a flashlight on the front of it, a solar panel for charging, or it's also has that, crank feature on it. And then it does have an internal battery, so I am able to use this to charge my phone or whatever, other electronic devices I have. So right off the bat, this is America. We like fireworks. I like fireworks. So in the event that I was, on foot trying to get home and I had to pass through a rough area, with a gang or a mob, I would want to have something like this. And these are just firecrackers. That's all they are. I've got some smoke emitters here and some M80 firecrackers that are taped to a rock. And the sole purpose of these is to, make those, potential attackers look left while I go right. So this is what's going on with the electronics / comms section. So I've got my designated headlamp here, main flashlight with extra battery, the phone charger cable for my phone, additional 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and then USB cable for the headlamp. Above that, I've got this decent walkie-talkie, and this is, kind of short range. So I want to say maybe 1 to 2 miles away from home, I might be able to use this, but in the long run, I'd probably get a ham radio. But for now, this is what I have, so I'm gonna make it work. There you have it. Those are all the items that I carry in my own personal urban get home bag, but I'd also love to hear your thoughts on this topic. What would you do differently in the event of an emergency, and what do you carry in your get home bag? Let me know down in the comment section, and before you go, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel to see more videos just like this one. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.